So with football seemingly crumbling before our eyes at the moment, let's talk about some real football. Let's talk about the Championship. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Now, a lot is going on around the footballing world at this point in time. I think it's fair to say I'll have a video coming out tomorrow on the European Super League and what the implications for the Championship could actually mean. But obviously in today's video, we've got a lot of Championship action to talk over. Let's get stuck into the real stuff. Get all your thoughts down below in terms of your Championship club at the moment and the whole European Super League thing. You know, I may pick out some of those comments in tomorrow's video. As always, this bit's going to be split into two halves. First half of the video, we're going to be speaking about the matches. Second half of the video, going to be making my midweek score predictions, so do leave them in the comments down below. Speaking of your score predictions, this is how the main prediction league is currently looking, and I'm in a relegation battle at the moment. I've dropped down to 23rd in the main prediction league, so I really need to have a big midweek here. This is how League 1's looking, still as close as ever in here, and then League 2 is looking like this. Couple new entries joining the League 2 league today. Without any further ado though, guys, let's jump into the action. Starting out with Friday night's game, first of all we have Blackburn beating Derby by 2-1. Now in terms of the match itself, it was actually quite open. The result sees Blackburn now lifted onto 50 points, which I think is the safety net that a lot of Championship clubs in the bottom half are really aiming for. So for Blackburn to get to there, with them not exactly being in the most sparkling form at the moment, is obviously a boost for them heading into next season. The game itself was, yeah, like I say, quite open actually. Both sides having chances. It was Derby who took the lead through Tom Lawrence. We spoke about the first goal in this game actually being quite important, but I mean, Blackburn were testing David Marshall throughout the afternoon here. It's Gallagher who gets Blackburn back into this one just before half time, and then heading into the second half, Marshall's forced into a string of saves. You know, without them, Blackburn really could have run away with it at one point. The goal that Blackburn do get ahead with, Harvey Elliott's finish, I think it could be pointed at Marshall there. I think that if Elliott, you know, puts that, you know, top binzer in the bottom corner, you can't really do much about that there, but Marshall gets a bit on it, but it's the power just takes it past him, doesn't it? After that, Derby have a flurry of chances. Callum Kazan-Richards has a couple of headers. They have a penalty appeal waved away, but ultimately that result there for Derby is really damning, especially with other sides around them picking up points this weekend. In midweek, they go up against my side, North End, in a bit of a must-win game for Derby there, because Rotherham at the moment really breathing down their neck. And in Friday night's second game, we had Reading drawing 1-1 with Cardiff. Coming into this game, we sort of mentioned that this was a bit of a must-win game for Reading here, given the fixtures that they still have to come and the points that they need to make up on the teams above them. It feels like a bit of an opportunity missed, but for them to go behind as late as they did and get back into the game, I don't know. They're still in the hunt, but 4 points with only 4 games to go is still quite the margin to gain back on Barnsley. But yeah, despite both teams having chances, it took until the 87th minute when the scoreline was opened. Richards, who has been outstanding for Reading so far this season, has to do better with this one. I'm not sure if he's just not quite aware of his surroundings, but Keith Moore's quite clever with this one because he sort of sees what's about to happen before it does. Richard clumsily, you know, swings his leg at it. Moore just gets in front of him, and he ultimately is brought down for the penalty, which he sticks away. Yaki Mate does get running back into the game in the 94th minute, but is it a little bit too little too late? It's just 1 win in their last 5 now for Reading. They need to be winning matches from now until the end of the season, and they still have games to come up against Swansea and Norwich. Next up then to Saturday's games, we have Brentford against Millwall, ending as a goalless draw. Brentford will see this one as quite the missed opportunity, especially with Watford losing this weekend. They really had the opportunity to really squeeze the gap on them. But I mean, top 2 still a possibility, but Brentford are going to have to be pretty flawless from now on in, and Watford will have to obviously continue having their wobble. Now, Millwall, quite impressive with the way they set up for this one actually. Defensively, really structured, and from what we've come to expect from them, especially in the second half of the season. And what they've showed lately is this Millwall side aren't a million miles away from being that playoff outfit that I myself thought they might be at the start of the season. You know, a little bit more ingenuity in the final third, and like I say, Millwall really aren't all too far away. When all of their backline is fitting on their game, there's not many more sort of structurally sound defensive units in the Championship. You know, ultimately Brentford had a lot of the ball for this one, but that cutting edge within the final third just wasn't there for this one. Certainly wasn't, you know, they weren't playing to the same calibre they were last time out against North End, so frustrating for Brentford in the end. Good point there for Millwall. Next up then to the game which really makes things interesting up at the top of the Championship. Luton 1, Watford Watford 0. This was as bad as we've seen Watford since Xisco's arrival, to be honest with you. Really poor showing from them here, and to have a blip at this stage of the season really isn't what Watford need at this point in time. But we've sort of mentioned on the preview heading into this game that Luton sort of needed a performance in this game after how the reverse fixture went, and boy did they deliver that. You know, it wasn't as if this was sort of a smash and grab, you know, late penalty that's won it for Luton. They were very much the team that was in control and taking the game for Watford, and all the sort of praise that we've heaped on Watford, none of that was sort of showing through in this game here today. Their attacking intent was next to nothing, and obviously heading up now into this tough fixture running, you know, when they still have to play Norwich tomorrow, then Millwall, then Brentford and Swansea, it's going to set up a absolutely fascinating final few game weeks of this championship season. Obviously Feminier got his red card towards the end of the game. Watford thought they'd equalised, but it was ruled out for offside. Loads of drama, still all to play for at the top. I do still think Watford will get over the line, but boy, that defeat makes it interesting. For QPR was a good win in the end against Middlesbrough, 2-1, considering they were playing a lot of the second half down to 10 men. But yeah, first half especially, QPR with a good showing in this one. Rob Dickie with an absolute thunderbolt to open the scoring. Now, I know for QPR and the sort of narrative that we've had on the channel is we've really praised the sort of business that they did in January onwards and how they sort of turned around their season. But Rob Dickie and a bit of the business that they did in the summer, one of the best championship additions that we've seen, really good acquisition, and has really grown into this QPR side as the season's gone on. I didn't know he had that in his locker, so fair play to him. Wallace with the second goal. It was Dykes with another assist in this one, just sort of lift the ball back into the box. Balasik does get Burrow back into the game, and obviously the game-changing moment comes when Sonny Dieng gets that red card. Joe Lumley then has to come on and actually makes a very good save, denying Seville with a sort of reflex save as he heads back and he just tips the ball around the post. Really good stuff there. But yeah, Middlesbrough pressing for a lot at the end of the game as QPR were down to 10 men, but they do hang on for all 3 points. After that, we're heading to the City Ground as Huddersfield took a massive step to safety as they saw off Forest by 2-0. Huddersfield's fans especially, I think, really needed that one. Now, for Forest, it was a case of one too many players in this game having a bit of a rare off day. You know, Huddersfield actually putting 2 goals past Forest. We spoke about this in the preview, the sort of rarity that this Chris Hughton side has conceded more than 1 goal in the game. But Huddersfield, I think, deserving of this one in the end. You know, prior to that opening goal, they were pushing Forest for the opening goal towards the end of that half. In the end, the goal comes from a bit of a miscommunication from Garner and McKenna. Garner, a rarity, bit of a sloppy pass in the end, goes behind McKenna. Rowe manages to latch onto that, makes it 1. And Bakuna's second was an absolute dazzler, worthy of winning any game. And he is someone with that real individual quality who can make all the difference for Huddersfield. So his importance to this Huddersfield squad from now until the end of the season really can't be underestimated. But yeah, that severely lifts the pressure for the time being on Huddersfield and really leaves, you know, Derby in it at the moment as that next side for Rotherham to catch. Sheff Wednesday against Bristol City ultimately finished as a draw. I think I predicted a draw coming into this one, but yeah, come the end of the season when we do our sort of end of season review on each team, 2 teams who are not particularly maybe going to talk about with all too many positives at the end of this season. Sheff Wednesday do take the lead through Bournemouth and actually were given a decent attempt at you know, creating some chances and getting some dangerous areas in the first half. The penalty that they're awarded should be, you know, the game-changing moment here. Lansbury's shown a straight red card. It's a tough one to definitively see on the replays whether he does actually get a touch on the ball, as it sort of seems to hit the bar and go over. He certainly signals his hand to go up to the bar, but I know that Bristol City have since appealed that red. Barry Bannon then steps up to take it, misses the penalty. It's quite a weak penalty in the end that Bentley, you know, is easily able to save. But apart from that penalty miss, I thought that Bannon was actually looking fairly decent for Wednesday in this game. In terms of all the attacking moves that were moving forward, they were all sort of flowing through him, and he is a player who I'd be surprised if he sticks around with Wednesday in League One. I think there'll be quite a few championship offers coming in for Barry Bannon. And then ultimately, despite Bristol City not really being in this game, they do get back into the game with a nice strike from Bakinson in the final stages of this one. So yeah, sort of sums up Wednesday's season there, even while they are on top, not being able to kill off the game. And Bristol City, I mean, I've sort of run out of things to say about them this season now. It's just more of the same, really, isn't it? Next up then to Stoke up against Preston. Like I sort of predicted for this one, definitely not being the most entertaining game of the weekend. Very much a game of 2 halves, to be completely honest with you. First half, Stoke were battering us going forward, and if it wasn't for Daniel Everson, could have found ourselves, you know, 2-3 goals down in this one. They were by far the better side, but second half we tweaked it a little bit and had a bit more impetus about us going forward, and I thought we gave a much better account of ourselves in that half. You know, Andy Hughes hit the post post from a free kick. Barkhuizen had a decent chance. We nearly won it late on, actually. Alan Brown racing through on goal. Harry Suter brings him down, and the contact starts just outside the box. We get a free kick right on the edge in the end. Obviously, he's shown a straight red card. Had that been just a couple centimetres further forward, we would have had a late penalty in this one. But yeah, ultimately finished as a goalless draw. Probably on reflection of both halves, a fair point in the end, but I don't know, either side could have scored in their moments on top in this one. Next up then for Swansea up against Wycombe, and Wycombe came also close yet again to picking up all 3 points in this one, didn't they? It was really a good showing from them in their moments when they went forward. Musgrave's first goal, really well taken. McCleary's goal, really well taken as well, and at 2-0, this is where that sort of championship know-how really needs to kick in, and they see the game out from that point onwards. The penalty that they concede, I will admit there is an air of sort of misfortune about it. I don't think the player particularly means it here, but I can see why the penalty's been given. Lowe tucks that away. He's been, sparkling form for Swansea at the moment. And then Cullen gets Swansea back level just 2 minutes later. Wycombe probably should have actually won it. Musgrave had the chance later on, but couldn't steer that shot on target. And ultimately, this is a part of the season where when you get yourself into a winning position, you need to hold on. We saw it last time, against Luton as well. Had they held on for, winning both those matches, the story of Wycombe could have been also different this season. But even with the draw, Swansea will still see this game as a bit of a missed opportunity. They've been coming into this one seeing this game as a bit of a must-win, really, to really close the gap and put the pressure on Watford. Now, I know that Watford obviously had their wobble themselves this weekend, but it's still up to the likes of Swansea and Brentford to capitalise, which they haven't really done this weekend. And then to the last game we had on Saturday, we'll get to speaking about the game in just a second. Norwich won, Bournemouth 3, but I have to say a huge congratulations to Norwich on securing their promotion back up to the Premier League. Obviously, the caveat coming into this game is that Norwich had already sealed their promotion without kicking a ball, with both Brentford and Swansea dropping points. But nevertheless, this has been a pretty flawless run for Norwich this season. There was still, coming into this season, a few questions being asked about them, being asked about the mentality of the squad, and their ability to bounce straight back up to the Premier League. It can be obviously a difficult thing given how that season in the Premier League went for them, but it's a real testament to the people working behind the scenes at Norwich. I think especially with everything going on in the grand scheme of football at the moment, with everything, in and around the top six being absolutely bonkers, Norwich are a really good example of a well-run club who stick to their principles. They stood by Daniel Farke after that season and have got their rewards for it, because as the season's gone on, they just got better and better, and the football they played at times along the year has just been absolutely sparkling. And that was on show early on in this game. Emi Buendia's goal was absolutely fantastically worked. Him and Pukki linking up for this one again. The game-changing moment obviously comes from the Giannoulis red card. It's him and Pearson going into a tackle. As it's Giannoulis who gets their second, he's adjudged to be the dangerous one, so he's shown the red card. Ben Pearson, by the way, not the most popular man in Norwich, I think it's fair to say, but really was a thorn in their side throughout the afternoon. Lovely stuff from him. Keeps this Bournemouth side ticking along, and is just a nasty player. I know from my time, from him being at North End, how much he can wind up the opposition, but Bournemouth are just going to absolutely fall in love with him. And then in the second half, Bournemouth make that extra man count. It's Surge with the first goal, Danjuma with the second, which is absolutely wonderfully taken, and then Kelly with the third one. And Bournemouth, to be fair to them, under Jonathan Woodgate, looking at all the sides who are currently making up the playoff spots, Bournemouth are the most informed side in the league at the moment. They're not someone who I think anyone's particularly going to fancy taking on at this point in time, with the amount of goals they're scoring and the quality that is in their squad that's finally coming to the front. So yeah, even with the extra man advantage, promising stuff there from Bournemouth. And Sunday also brought along some big matches, especially when it came to the relegation picture. We had Birmingham beating Rotherham by 1-0 thanks to a last-minute Harley Dean winner. Now, we actually said in the preview heading into this game that if Birmingham were going to get some joy moving forward for this one, it was going to be, swinging the ball into the box. It wasn't Djukovic getting on the end of this one, though. It was Harley Dean, who I've not always been the biggest fan of, but nevertheless, you can't rule out the importance of that goal for Birmingham. And actually, I remember in what turned out to be after Aitor Karanka's last game at the club, I remember saying on the channel, Birmingham are a team who are destined for League One. There's just no sort of cohesion within that squad, despite all the individual quality that might be there. And I think that the job that Lee Bowyer's done, listen, I'm going to do a manager ranking video at the end of the season, but he's right up there in my estimations at the moment for the quick turnaround and for Birmingham to now be 9 points above the relegation zone. Now, for Rotherham, another really close defeat here, here and the Coventry game, both losing by 1-0. And Rotherham really asked questions in this game, but Birmingham stood resolute when they needed to. It's now a situation where, I mean, the relegation picture changes every week, but it now looks like a bit of a straight shootout between Rotherham and Derby, where previously it looked like it would be Rotherham and Birmingham, then it was like Rotherham and Huddersfield for a bit, then it was Rotherham and Coventry for a bit. Now looks like it's between those two sides. It's a tough one to call at the moment, isn't it, that last spot? And then similar to a lot of the praise that we've just heaped on Birmingham, we have to give the same to Coventry for getting a massive win here, 2-0 against Barnsley. Obviously, Barnsley are in an interesting position of their own. We'll get to speaking about that in just a second. But yeah, it was a massive game week for a lot of the Championship clubs down at the bottom of the Championship, wasn't it? And from where Coventry were a couple of weeks ago compared to where they are now, 48 points, 9 points above the relegation zone. Coventry fans will be breathing a huge sigh of relief after winning 3 of their last 4 Championship matches. Lovely first goal from Hayam, and then Godden in the later stages wraps this up for 2-0. In terms of Barnsley, it keeps the playoff picture alive and ticking, because at this point onwards, Bournemouth look like they are that sort of uncatchable side who are going to continue to go on this run with how they're playing at the moment. The Barnsley will be thankful that Reading weren't really able to capitalise this weekend. Obviously, they dropped points as well, drawing with Cardiff. So at the moment, it leaves Barnsley with a 4-point gap over Reading in 7th place at the moment, and it looks, feasibly like that last spot is probably going to be between one of them two. But guys, there were all the games that unfolded this weekend in the Championship. As always, get your thoughts in the comments down below as to what you made of the action in this game week. Now what we'll go ahead and do is flip over to our midweek Championship score predictions, and once again there's some big ones coming up. So guys, let's head into my midweek Championship score predictions, starting out with Brentford up against Cardiff. Now Brentford just need to find the winning formula from somewhere, because they need to find that sort of streak from now until the end of the season if they're going to make up the points difference on Watford. I'm going to edge them in this one ever so slightly against Cardiff, although I see it being another quite tight game as their one at the weekend was. I'll go 1-0 Brentford. Norwich up against Watford. Go for a draw in that one to keep things interesting in and around the top 2. I'll go for a 1-1. Obviously Norwich still have their, I suppose, title to play for, but their promotion is wrapped up now. Watford, it'll be an interesting test of character to see how they bounce back from the Luton game. Go for a draw in that one. Preston up against Derby is absolutely massive, and I see this one being decided by 1 goal. Neither side's in particularly great goal scoring form at this point in time, and a set piece or a mistake at the back I think ultimately is going to determine this one. I'm going to edge Preston, which would be a huge hammer blow for Derby, but I'll just edge North End for that one. Sheff Wed up against Blackburn. Do you know what? I'll go Wednesday in that one. They had their chances to win the game against Bristol City at the weekend, and Blackburn, I never know what to expect. Can they follow up their win last time out? I'm not so sure. I'll go 2-1 Wednesday. Swansea up against QPR. Tough one, because QPR are so unpredictable at the moment. It depends which side shows up. I'm going to go for a draw in that one, I'm going to go for a 1-1. Swansea also a little bit unpredictable at this point in time. Into Wednesday's matches, we got Millwall going up against Bournemouth. Be interesting to see if Bournemouth can pass the Millwall test. And I think with the way they're going at the moment, I think they might be able to, I'm going to go 2-0 Bournemouth. Rotherham up against Middlesbrough is absolutely huge. Ultimately, Middlesbrough don't have anything to play for from here on in, but they can still be a pretty tricky customer to come up against. They obviously, Neil Warnock won't want their season to fizzle out, but Rotherham have all to play for, but will this sort of fatigue kick in of them having this relentless schedule from now until the end of the season? I think Rotherham have got a bit unlucky in their last couple of matches, so I'll back them for this one. I'll go 1-0 Rotherham. Stoke up against Coventry. I'm going to go for another goalless draw in that one. It's another one which could be decided by 1 goal here or there. Wycombe up against Bristol City. I thought Wycombe got a little bit unlucky in the game against Swansea, and they're going to continue to battle. And I'm going to back them for this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Wycombe. Birmingham up against Forest. Forest had a little bit of an off day at the weekend, and Birmingham continuing to roll out the results on the Lee Bowyer, and I'm going to back them to do the same in this one. I'm going to go 1-0 Birmingham. Huddersfield up against Barnsley is a fascinating game in the playoff picture for Barnsley especially, and I'm going to go for a thrilling 2-2 draw in that one. See it being quite an open game of football with the way Huddersfield like to play, and Barnsley are going to come on to press them. I'm going to go 2-2 in that game. And then to finish things off, we've got Luton going up against Reading, also going to be interesting in the playoff picture. And to keep things interesting around the top 6, I'll go 2-1 Reading in that game. Although if Luton continue with a similar trajectory as they showed in that Watford game, who knows. But as you can see to the side of me, those are my midweek Championship score predictions for what I see happening in those games. Do get your guys' score predictions predictions in the comments down below. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. So if you did go on to enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, get all your thoughts and your score predictions in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe for some regular Championship content and check out the Patreon for more exclusive content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.